You know, the farmer who's poor, who has barely like 2 meals to eat, can go to sleep peacefully at night. But the guy who's got like millions upon millions and he's got like 6 bedrooms to choose from where I'm going to sleep, he can't get sleep at night. He has to take antidepressants. He's being killed psychologically. So everyone's in loss. Everyone's got some kind of problems. Everyone has this. And Allah Azza wa Jal in this surah didn't just give us relief from the final loss, which is akhirah. That's the ultimate loss, right? Hellfire. Standing before Allah and having to answer for your deeds. That would be the worst loss. But He even gave us relief from the loss of this world. From depression, from like anxiety, from fear, from oppression. He freed us from these things also in His solution, إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ. When we study that solution, we will see it's not just a remedy for the akhirah, it is also a remedy for dunya. Because in the end, the loss of the human being will happen in the akhirah, but it's also happening in dunya. It's happening here too. And Allah answers both of them in this profound surah. Like Allah Azza wa Jalla says, يَا أَيُّهَا الْإِنسَانِ إِنَّكَ كَادِحٌ إِلَىٰ رَبِّكَ كَدْحًا فَمُلَاقِيهِ. Amazing ayah. You forgetful human being, you are marching forward, toiling forward. Kadh is to move with a lot of effort, right? Whether you like it or not, you're marching towards Allah Azza wa Jalla, and you will get to meet Him. Whether you think you're going to meet Him or not, whether you prepare for it or not, whether you care or not, whether you want to hear it or not, every single second that passes, you are one step closer to meeting Him. Every day that passes, you are one step closer to meeting Him. You could live your life of sin, and you could party it away, that's fine. Living it up, right? Like there's no tomorrow. There is a tomorrow, and it's coming. And you will meet Him. So this is the profound lesson embedded in this surah also. So now, what I want to tie these two, like the loss of dunya and loss of akhirah. In this dunya, somebody says, man, I wish I had a better job. I wish I had that car. I wish I had this, I wish I married that woman. I wish I could have this. I wish I could have that. I wish I didn't have this problem. I wish I didn't have that problem. What happens in the akhirah? Ya laytani kuntu turaba. I wish I was dust. Can you compare? Subhanallah. You think these problems were big? It was far bigger coming. Far bigger coming. Subhanallah. So this is when you really appreciate. Today we appreciate the loss of the human being. But then is when we'll really appreciate innal insana lafi khusr. Now we get to the last ayah, inshaAllah ta'ala, of this surah. Which is really, you should remember, all of this is actually one sentence. The entire surah, وَالْعَصْرِ إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَفِي خُسْرٍ إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. Linguistically is one statement, one discourse. It's not disconnected. This exception, the comments we've made before, are that the exception is always the minority. And the people who don't meet the exceptional criteria are always the majority. In other words, the people in loss are the majority, and the people who are successful are the minority. But there's some things that we should note about society and just the way the world works. The majority decides what is right and what is wrong. The majority sets the trends. The majority sets the standards. We do things, and by the way, even in psychology, you know how normal behavior is defined? Normal behavior is defined as what everybody does. And abnormal behavior is defined when somebody's doing something that nobody else is doing. In other words, everybody's driving this way and you're driving that way, you are doing what? Abnormal behavior, right? Now think about that from the religious point of view. You have a society where everybody does certain things. And you go to your job and everybody does certain things. But you're a Muslim, you can't do those things. Guess what they start thinking of you as? Not just Muslim, but weird, abnormal. You don't fit. That guy's a little off. What's he doing in that corner over there? Why doesn't he eat this stuff? It's such good food. He turned it away. Why didn't he go to that party? Why did he avoid that woman that was trying to hit on him? Why did he do that? They don't get, and they think it's weird. And this is, by the way, when you are constantly looked at as strange, it can have an impact on you. I don't want to be weird. I don't want to be looked at as strange. So you know what happens? Even though the majority are losers, you're the successful one. They start convincing you that you are living a life of loss. You need to get with the program, basically. What they'll start convincing you of psychologically is, man, this is getting hard. I can't live like this. I need to, everybody else gets to enjoy life. Why do I have to live this strange life? So the problem isn't just of accepting this truth. Knowing that the majority will be on falsehood and being cognizant of that will help you and me a lot. Because the forces, the majority has a force, it has a pull. My teacher used to give the analogy of swimming upstream. All the fish are going this way. And there's this one or two fish, they're trying to go up the stream. It's obviously, anybody who looks at that, you're crazy, man, let's go this way. Everybody's headed that way. Why are you going up there for? It's harder, and it's only going to get harder. You're only going further up. SubhanAllah. This is the example of the human being in a society that is headed, the entire society is headed in the way of loss. And our challenge is a profound challenge. Because if we were living in a society where Islam was being practiced as it should be, right? If that was the case, which by the way isn't the case in much of the world. So don't even idealistically think, I'm going to go to the Muslim world and it's going to be great. Let's get real. What's happening in the Muslim world, we should know. But even if that was the case, and inshallah ta'ala it will be the case, Allah will give establishment to this deen. If we were living in such a society, then obeying Allah is actually easy because the majority is doing it. So even not just you should do it, but everybody's doing it, it becomes easier to do. But in this society, obeying Allah becomes harder because the majority is bent upon disobeying Allah. It is bent upon disobeying Allah. So much so, this isn't even the case in the society, this may even be the case inside your own family. Your own family, the majority of them may be headed towards loss, and you want to save yourself, and they say, why are you turning into a loser? They'll actually ironically use those terms. Why are you such a loser? Which is, funny because they're headed towards loss. Right? SubhanAllah. This is an amazing, thing to be aware of that's embedded in this ayah by use of the exception. Anyhow, إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. The first comment we will make is that when Allah mentioned the loss of the human being, the singular was used. Al-insan. Even though it refers to all human beings, we talked about diffusion of responsibility last time. The singular was used. You know what that means? In the end, you might think you're following the crowd, you got a lot of people with you, it's the way your family does things, or your tribe does things, or your country does things, or whatever. But when it comes to suffering the consequences of your mistakes, nobody will be with you. You will be by yourself. People follow trends, but when the time comes, وَتَقَطَّعَتْ بِهِمُ الْأَسْبَابِ, all their relationships will be chopped off. But when it came to the exception, Allah doesn't say, إِلَّا الَّذِي آمَنَ وَعَمِلَ صَالِحًا وَعَمِلَ الصَّالِحَاتِ وَتَوَاصَى بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَى بِالصَّبْرِ. No, He didn't use the singular. He used the plural. So we have to understand this transition from the singular to the plural. What we learn here is these few people that are going to go against the mold and they're going to swim upstream, the only way they will survive is if they stick together. They cannot be apart. It's like that leaf that cuts off from the tree, it dies. They have to remain connected to this ummah. The unity of this ummah and the believers sticking together is embedded in this ayah as part of our survival because of the use of the plural. Iman is not something you can sustain on your own. Iman is boosted with good company, with reminder, with counsel, with salah and jama'ah. All of these things are Iman boosters, right? Because we do them together. They're collective things. So the word amal is beautiful here, that Allah Azza wa Jal tied the exception to a collective affair. And not just, you would think Iman is a personal thing. Okay, good deeds, maybe we should do them together. Tawasi bil haqq, tawasi bil sabr, that involves other people. But Iman is a personal thing. But even Iman, Allah Azza wa Jal made it a collective affair. What we learn from that is, if you think you have Iman and you have nothing to do with the community, the masjid, you don't go and benefit from the reminder of the daily reminder from the Imam, you don't have counsel of good brothers around you, good sisters around you, then you are going to necessarily suffer a loss of Iman. And those of you that distance yourself from the masjid, sometimes you will face it, you will feel it. Man, I don't feel good. I got to go back to Allah's house. I got to, and it's not just about praying, because you could pray at home too. It's this collective, body of believers. They feed off of each other. They raise the Iman together. This should happen even in circles of learning. If you're sitting and listening to a lecture on your own, you might benefit. But when brothers and sisters, we learn together, it actually helps us more. It boosts the Iman more. When you see a lot of people attending a program, in and of itself, that's a motivator. Man, I need to come to these things more often. Even if you don't know anyone. There's just something about La ilaha illallah that binds us together and gives us strength. Just the sight of each other gives us strength. That's what the love and affection of this ummah is supposed to be. So that's one of the things about the transition from singular to plural. The other thing we should talk about here is إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا. Allah Azza wa Jal in this ayah